Welcome back to our friends and visitors, and thank you for joining us once again here at the Aura News broadcast for our daily English news edition. It's now time again for our translated version of today's top news stories, and as usual, I'm Daniel Cook, your host. Today's plenary session was marked with the debate over the amendments to the criminal code, which will strengthen the penalties against businesses caught in informality. The opposition was not alone in speaking out against the amendments. They were joined by some majority MPs as well. The chairman of the Law Commission, Fatmir Jafai, argued in favor of the amendments, but felt that they should not be passed because of the poor performance of the customs and tax directories. The Socialist MP Pandeli Maiko was moderate in his stance, saying that the law will fight against smuggling, a disease that has plagued all past governments. On their part, the opposition very harshly stated that the amendments were terrorism by the state against the business sector. The discussion became harsher still when the former Prime Minister Sali Berisha accused the government of trying to imprison the business owners. The chairman of the Economic Commission, Eryon Brace, and the Minister of Economy, Arben Ahmetai, claimed that the opposition was only making these accusations because their own political and economic offer was a failure. The amendments to the criminal code include a fine and prison time of 3 to 10 years for business owners who commit tax evasion, and a fine of up to 5 million lek for citizens who do not take a sales receipt when they make a purchase. At today's meeting of the Democratic Parliamentary Group, the chairman Lulzim Basha called Prime Minister Rama's government a catastrophe for the country. Basha accused the government of imprisoning business owners and stealing the property of the citizens. For this reason, he called the citizens to join the December 8th protest at 11 o'clock at the Skanderbeg Square. Mr. Basha had this to say: "The solution is to create a technical government that will prepare the electoral reform, will implement the decriminalization law, and will prepare the country for new elections. We do not want to simply remove this government and enter into power. We want a solution for Albania. The people's vote will determine who will govern the country. The popular protest to remove this nationally catastrophic government begins on December 8th. I invite all the citizens to gather at Skanderbeg Square on Tuesday, December 8th at 11 o'clock, said Mr. Basha. He went on to say that this government offers no hope to the citizens and that the system is full of crime and corruption. He mentioned the issue of the Ches company and accused the Prime Minister and the Assembly Speaker of hampering the investigation. According to him, they are tied up in the scandal. Mr. Basha declared that the opposition MPs will vote against the amendments to the criminal code in Parliament. The 11th annual meeting of the Regional Ministers of Transport was held today in Tirana. The Albanian Minister of Transport, Edmond Haxhinasto, spoke out about the road network needing €1.2 billion in order to reach the European standards. Haxhinasto asked for more coordination between the regional countries to solidify their joint projects, and he pointed out that developing the railway sector is an important priority. According to him, special attention has been paid to Albania's infrastructure in the past 2 years. With one voice, the other ministers of the region agreed that the development of the regional infrastructure is one of the most important things for economic development. The gathering of the ministers is organized annually by the Southeastern Europe Transport Observatory, which is a regional organization that supports transport in cooperation with 6 countries: Albania, Bosnia, Macedonia, Montenegro, Serbia, and Kosovo, as well as the European Commission. Serbia was not represented in this meeting by its transport minister, but by an assistant in the transport ministry. The discussions were focused on coordinating the implementation of regional projects. The Prime Minister of Kosovo, Isa Mustafa, has expressed his readiness to negotiate with the opposition. Mr. Mustafa said today that the government is determined to have constructive debate in the state institutions, not tear gas. He said that violent episodes must be left in the past. We are ready to sit down at any time to talk with the opposition and to find a solution on the basis of the Constitution and the laws of Kosovo. I urge the opposition to sit down and discuss this with us in Parliament. We are committed to stopping the tear gas in the Assembly, and the scene of the last few days remains in the past, said Mustafa. He spoke briefly on his meeting with the U.S. Secretary of State, John Kerry, saying that they talked about Kosovo's challenges in foreign policy. he said that he received Mr. Kerry's promise that the U.S. will continue to remain a strong supporter of Kosovo's integration into international organizations. The former Prime Minister Sali Berisha has condemned the actions of Kosovo's opposition in Parliament. Berisha asked the Albanian government to withdraw from the unilateral attitude it is holding toward the situation in Kosovo. According to him, the statements of the Albanian authorities are damaging the relations with the neighboring state. He commented, "I am here to denounce the intervention of the government in the internal problems of Kosovo. Unilateral attitudes are absolutely punishable. We are obligated to cooperate with Kosovo regardless of the party that is in power." Mr. Berisha called the actions of the Kosovo opposition guerrilla tactics and rebuked the opposition for using them in Parliament. He continued, "Can you tell me any place in which these guerrilla actions are done in Parliament? If you want to behave like guerrillas, you can go to the mountains, not to the plenary session. Tear gas in Parliament is unacceptable," declared Mr. Berisha. Prime Minister Rama paid an official visit to Paris today at the invitation of the French Prime Minister Manuel Valls and was received at the headquarters of the French government. In a bilateral meeting that lasted for more than an hour, the two prime ministers praised the excellent relations that exist between the countries and expressed the willingness and commitment of both governments to strengthen cooperation in the future, focusing on the fields of intelligence, justice, and police. Rama expressed the solidarity and support of the Albanian government in the common fight against terrorism, the most serious threat to human values worldwide. On his part, French Prime Minister Valls praised the reforms that have been undertaken by the Albanian government so far as a very positive approach to the opening of negotiations. He gave assurance of the support of France in Albania's integration process. Prime Minister Rama thanked his French counterpart for the continued support that France gives. Cooperation in the field of culture was another topic of the discussion, and Mr. Valls expressed a particular interest in the Albanian student exchange program. He said that Albania's tradition of religious tolerance is an inspiring example for the youth and builds the culture of respecting people of other faiths. He spoke about the upcoming Paris Peace Conference in 2016, and he urged Prime Minister Rama to play a key role. On the International Day of People with Disabilities, a petition was sent to the municipality of Tirana by the Association of the Disabled and the community of parents with disabled children. The petition has gained the support of the Albanian Ombudsman, and it contains a number of requests, including the establishment of special services. The Parents Association says that the state's attention on this category of people is minuscule, if not insignificant. They have expressed their concerns to the Vice Mayor, Brunhilda Pascali, and she gave them the following response. "You are right in this matter. This is a process that should continue. Parents who have children with disabilities live with these problems every day," she said. Meanwhile, the Ombudsman has made a thorough analysis of the problems this category faces. According to the Ombudsman, the legislation on employing of people with disabilities is not being followed. There are only 56 disabled people employed in Tirana, but according to the law, there should be one disabled person employed for every 25 other employees. Another concern of the Ombudsman is their access to public transportation, as well as ticket reimbursement for the disabled. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our news for this evening, but we'll be back at the same time tomorrow with more translated news stories. Thanks, and have a great night.